Hey guys, welcome to the last and final day of Southern Cooking with Chef Gerron. Now I hope that you guys have thoroughly enjoyed my games thus far. But this last game, you guys are in for a treat, figuratively and literally. We are preparing a ultimate sweet potato pie that will blow the socks off anybody's taste buds. Are you ready? Because I am. Alright beautiful people, let's go ahead and get this pie crust started, okay? Now this is a handmade pie crust that we're going to make, and it is absolutely delicious, okay? Ingredients needed. You need a half a cup or 1 stick of cold cubed butter, 1 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour, 2 tablespoons of sugar, and a half a teaspoon of salt. You'll also need 1/4 cup of ice water. And as far as equipment, I like to use my food processor, but you don't have to use that if you don't own one. You can simply use a bowl and 2 forks to mash down your butter. You'll also need a knife to cut your dough, and you'll need a rubber spatula. You'll also want to have some saran wrap present so that we can wrap and store our dough in the refrigerator to rest. Alright guys, we're going to get started by using our food processor. If you don't have a food processor at home, then you just need to grab a bowl and you need to add all of your ingredients to a bowl, and then I'll show you the method with 2 forks, okay, what you need to do to start building that pie crust, okay? Flour goes in, salt in, sugar in. Alright, we're going to put that top on and just give this food processor a quick pulse just to get those things mixed together. Alright, if you're using a food processor at home, you're never going to lay on your food processor. You're just going to pulse it the entire time, okay? Now, if you don't have a food processor, if you're using a bowl, you'll simply take a whisk and you'll whisk all of those ingredients together before you start adding your butter and water, okay? Real quick, if you're using a food processor, I'm going to leave 1 piece of butter out just to show you. I'll do 2. Just to show you guys what you would do manually with 2 forks if you didn't have a food processor at home. With the other cubes of butter, I'm going to go ahead and drop those in. If you are unfamiliar with how to cube butter, what you need to do is get a cold stick of butter, okay? And you'll open that stick up. Again, this recipe calls for a half cup of butter, which is 1 entire stick. Alright? What you would need to do is just take a knife, alright? And you would go cut down the middle of the butter. Alright? Then you would go and start cutting each side. Alright, and this will cut the butter into rectangles. And once you get the butter cut into rectangles, I'm just going to show you guys because I've already have mine cut. Then you're going to cut it into small cubes, okay? So if you see here, that would be how I cut my butter into cubes. Alright? I'm going to put this up because I'll use this another time. But just wanted to show you guys exactly what you need to do to cube butter. Alright. If you are using a bowl to mix your pie crust and you're using two forks, the objective is to mash this butter as tiny as you can get it, okay? So you would literally take just 2 forks and you would just mash, 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 mash. And you would just mash that butter into your flour, sugar, and salt mixture, alright? So I'm going to add that butter right back into my food processor. Alright. At this point I'm going to put a top on my food processor. Alright, and I'm going to pulse it. Again, if you're working out of a bowl and 2 forks, at this point you're going to just Simply mash your butter around the edges while also kind of tossing your flour as well. It takes a lot longer, but you are working the butter into your flour, sugar, and salt mixture, okay? If you don't have a food processor, I would advise you to invest in one because it just makes time in the kitchen a lot quicker and efficient, all right? Now I'm gonna pulse this. And my butter is nice and chopped. All right, so after I've pulsed it about 5 or 6 times, now I'm going to add in 1/4 cup of cold water, okay? Because I have ice in here, my levels are fluctuating a bit, so I'm gonna pour just a little bit of cold water off, just to make sure that I have 1/4 cup, okay? Now I'm gonna add my 1/4 cup in while pulsing. Oh, and just to remind you, do not add the ice cubes. You're just adding the water. All right, I will pulse this a couple more times. And the texture that I'm looking for is a sandy like texture. I just want my butter to have broken down enough to make these little bits of sand stick together, okay? So I'll take the blade out of my processor. And I'm gonna take this rubber spatula and go around my edges a bit. All right, and that will get any other pieces that don't necessarily want to stick. Want to stick. All right. Now, with your hand, okay, now you need to get in and just kind of make sure that your pie crust is sticking together, okay? If you see, I have a bunch of pie crust here. All right, what I want to do is take these little sand-like pieces and start to form a larger dough with them, okay? And so, it's okay if you get your hands dirty with it a bit. I'm gonna grab some flour and throw a little bit of flour on my surface so that I can start getting this dough to bind together. All right. So again, I just want to work it a little bit at a time. And I don't necessarily want to knead this. I just literally want to get it combined just enough to where I can cut it into manageable sections and then wrap it so that it can rest in the refrigerator and allow the glucose inside of the pie crust to rest, okay? So this is what takes a little bit of time. Again, I don't necessarily want to knead it. I really just want my pieces to come together, okay? I don't want to overwork it. All right? I don't want to overwork it. All right? I just want to form a ball with my crust. All right. You can spend as much time as you want to getting those excess pieces. Or once you feel like you have enough here, you can just discard of those pieces. All right. So because I have flour already on my workspace, I'm going to go ahead and give my hands a quick rinse. All right, now I'm going to cut my dough into 2 different sections here. Then I'll saran wrap those, okay? So I'll take my knife and I'll just slice that dough right in half. Alright. Then I'll wrap both of those halves. Alright. This will allow me to be able to use one half if I need it right away. And then allow the other half to store in the refrigerator up to about 3 weeks. Alright. Alrighty, these pieces of dough now need to rest in the refrigerator for roughly about 25 to 45 minutes, okay? Now it's time for us to prepare the filling. The ingredients that you'll need are 2 large sweet potatoes, a half a cup of heavy cream mixed with 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, 2 large eggs, 1 stick of butter softened, 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour, 1 teaspoon of nutmeg, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1/4 of a teaspoon of ground ginger, and 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt, a half a cup of white sugar, a half a cup of brown sugar. As far as equipment, you'll need a medium-sized saucepan with a lid to boil your sweet potatoes. You'll also need a mixer or a stand mixer for this part. Alright guys, sweet potatoes in, lid on. We'll boil those sweet potatoes for about 25 minutes until soft and tender. To prepare the caramel sauce, you'll need a half a stick of butter, 1 cup of brown sugar, a half a cup of heavy cream, and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. As far as equipment, you'll need 1 whisk, a small saucepan. Alright, the first thing we need to do is add butter to our hot saucepan, okay? And what we want to do is we want to melt that butter down, alright? While the butter is melting, I like to go ahead and add my brown sugar in so that I can work those two things in together, okay? Grab the arm of the skillet, okay, and to continue to let that melt. So we'll keep stirring until that butter is completely melted, and I'm breaking down pieces of the butter with the whisk. But what we want this to look like is almost a brown sugar paste. Okay? This will be the beginning of our caramel sauce. And we'll top our sweet potato pie with this caramel sauce. And with the marshmallow sauce. Alright? See, as you guys can see here, it's just starting to look like a brown sugar paste, okay? This is the beginning of our caramel. We're going to keep stirring until that piece of butter is completely melted, alright? It's already starting to look like a thick caramel sauce. Once the butter is completely melted, now we're going to add our heavy cream and vanilla. Alright? So we'll add that in. And then we'll take the whisk and we'll just continue to work. We'll work that brown sugar in. And we want to stir out all the lumps. And as you can see, we're starting to see a nice luscious caramel sauce. We don't want to leave this on the heat because we don't want our sauce to burn. But we do want to be sure that we whisk out all of our lumps. Alright. I like to use a small saucepan because I feel like I have a lot more control over my lumps. Now my favorite part is the taste. Delicious. We're going to take our caramel off of the heat, and then we're going to allow it to cool, and we'll put it into a squirt bottle so that we can apply it to the top of our sweet potato pie in the most perfect way. Alright, now I'm going to take my caramel and I'm going to pour it into a squeeze bottle. And this caramel is good. You'll have enough, more than enough to apply to the top of your pie. But then also if you want to apply this to the top of ice cream, or if you want to make a sweet potato souffle and use this as your sweetener, or if you want to put this in your coffee, there's many different things you can do with this. I'm going to sit this in the refrigerator because I want this to get nice and thick. Okay, right now it's a little thin because it's still hot, but again, I'm not going to put the top on it because I want it to cool quickly. But again, I'm going to sit this into the refrigerator because we won't revisit this until our pie is completely constructed and baked. Alright, beautiful people, our ultimate sweet potato pie gets another decadent, delicious layer. And this is going to be a marshmallow sauce, okay? It'll be sweet potatoes, it'll be pecans, it'll be caramel sauce, and then a marshmallow sauce, okay? So, in order to make our marshmallow sauce, it'll be a quick and easy way. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. 1 tablespoon of water here. And we'll do 3 tablespoons of marshmallow fluff. Okay? We'll run that into the microwave for about 15 to 20 seconds. And then we'll bring it out and stir it until it's nice and thick. We'll put that also in a squeeze bottle so that we can decorate the top. Really, really pretty. Alright, again, 1 tablespoon of water to 1 2 3 tablespoons of marshmallow fluff. Now I'm going to put this bad boy into the microwave for about 15 seconds. Alright guys, I just took my marshmallow fluff out of the microwave. Now I'm going to take my whisk and I'm going to just work that marshmallow fluff in, okay? It's nice and creamy. I just want to work out those lumps. It's still a little runny now because it's hot. I'm going to add in 1 more tablespoon of marshmallow cream. Whisk it and then put it into the refrigerator to thicken up. Alright? We'll just work that little piece of marshmallow in. Those lumps. And then again, we'll stick it into the refrigerator so that our mixture can thicken. My dough is all out of the refrigerator and now ready to be rolled to fit our pie pan, okay? So the first thing that we need to do with this dough for our crust is to get some flour down on the countertop. Alright, a nice amount. We don't want our dough to stick. And we can take and unwrap it. Alright, now we're going to just start smashing our dough down to get it nice and flat so that it can fit our pie pan, okay? Remember that I cut this dough in half, so if you ever end up needing another piece, feel free to combine these 2 pieces, or if you were making a pie like a strawberry or peach pie, or some type of apple pie, you could use this half of the crust for the bottom layer of your pie, and then the top half you can roll out and make decorations for the top, okay? I'm going to get a little bit of flour onto my rolling pan. Alright, now I'm going to move this pie dish up so that I don't Get it? Now I'm gonna just roll my pie crust out evenly, okay? Every now and then I want you to try to lift it up from the countertop because sometimes it does stick and you just want to make sure that it does not, okay? You can also take a little bit of flour and put it on the top of your dough, okay? Again, you want your pie crust to be nice and even, all right? So my goal is to get this pie crust about 1/4 of an inch thick. Alright. And I want it all to be even because I want it all to be able to cook the same, alright? Alright, and as I'm noticing my pie crust, I'm noticing that what I have is not enough to fit to cover my pie pan. And that was a mistake that I made in the beginning, and it's okay if you make mistakes in the kitchen. We all do. We're human beings, alright? What I need to do is grab my other half of my pie dough, and I just need to add that to this one so that we can cover the base of this pie, alright? It's one thing I learned about cooking and being in the kitchen, and some of my experiences in the kitchen, and especially with like MasterChef and like cooking at home. You know, we're not perfect. We make mistakes. But as long as you learn from those mistakes, that is what truly makes you the master chef of your own kitchen. Alright? So again, as long as you are learning from your mistakes. Alright, so again, we'll push that down, flatten that down. We'll get some more flour over the top so that our rolling pin does not stick. Alright. And we'll roll this bad boy out, okay? About 1/4 of an inch. We want our pie crust to be nice and thick and flaky, but not too thick to where it takes 10 years to cook. Alright. As your pie crust is widening, alright, just make sure that you have enough flour underneath to cover and to stop it from sticking and tearing up on you. Alright. I just want to widen that out a little bit more. Alright. Because remember that our pie has to be able to fit this entire dish. Alright. Just adding a little bit more flour here. And a little bit more flour on my fingers so that when I pick this up, it's not going to stick to the countertop and or break. Alright. Alright, now I'm going to grab this dish here. And I'll put just a little bit of flour in this dish in case I need to reposition it. Alright, our pie crust goes in. And we're going to position this pie crust, okay? If you have some tears in your pie crust, that's okay. Now is the time for us to use our fingers to make adjustments. Alright. You can always put a little bit of pressure on your pie crust and bring a little bit of the crust up around the edges if you notice that you don't have enough. Alright. Alrighty. Pies are very the crust, that is, are very temperamental, and so we just want to make sure that we have enough crust to make our crust nice and pretty, but then to bake, alright, nice and flaky and not just crumble apart, alright. See what I'm doing? I'm taking extra pieces that I have around the side, and I'm just molding those with some of my missing pieces on my tray here. All right. If you see that one of your pieces has a lot, you know, now is the time just to make things right. Because once it goes into the oven, you don't have that opportunity anymore. All right. Work it together. Remember that it's just dough. It was made together, and it can easily be formed together. Okay. If you see some parts have too many or too thick of pieces, like here, I'm gonna remove those pieces just a little bit, and I'll fill those pieces in here, or where I see that my pie is lacking. All right. So now I'm gonna go around my edges, and I'm just going to normalize and when I say normalize, try my best to get my pie to look the same all the way around, okay? Again, I want to try my best to get my pie to look the same all the way around, all right? Then I'll show you guys how to crimp your pie and design it in a way that fits your personality, okay? I know some people are like traditional fork crimpers. That's how my great-grandmother taught me to do it, with a fork. And I'll show you what I mean here shortly. Alright, we're just, again, looking for continuity. We want to just make sure that this pie, the shape and the thickness is as much identical as we can get it. A lot of us are traditional people, and the way you decorate a pie is just the way that you explain your personality, or the way that you feel in that moment. And so my great grandmother showed me how to use a fork, and that was just like a traditional pie trick with a fork. All right, just a traditional way to decorate your pie. All right, it wasn't until my journey on MasterChef and actually learning how to bake a lot better that I learned how to do the crimp with your finger, where you put your finger there and alright. But again, I mean, everyone has their own way of doing things, and so I am okay with whatever way you guys want to do it. I'm gonna do my crimp with my finger. So what I'm gonna do, if you guys want to try the crimp, I'm just gonna take my pie, I'm going to pull it up from the dish just a little bit, all right, so that you can really see my crimps defined. Okay, that's where I took that fork and pressed down. I'm just gonna take it. All right. Again, if you do one thing on one side of the pie, you got to do it all the way around. All right. All right. So what I'm going to do is literally some pie dishes have indentions around them for your finger. But I'm just going to take my finger here. Then I'm just going to push in here. Take my finger and push in here. Take my finger and push in here. Alright. What I'm doing is every piece of the pie that I see that's pointing in toward the middle, I'm going to put my fingers there. Put one of my fingers there. I'm going to take my other finger and push out. And then take my other finger and push in. Alright. Tricky and temperamental process. I see where my crust is a little thin there, so I'm going to pat that out a little bit more. Alright, and then I'll have to give it a try again. Okay, there we go, a little better. I'll roll that back up. Remember, I said if you do something to one side, you got to do it with the other. Alright, so again, I'm just going to take some time around my pie just to decorate it. Alrighty. Alright guys, now it's time for us to prepare our sweet potato filling, okay? So what we're going to do is our 2 boiled sweet potatoes, we'll go ahead and de-skin them, alright? These are still hot, alright? So what I'm going to do is just run them under cold water, and it just makes it a little easier for me to manage and be able to skin. Literally, the skin just falls off of them, and you can skin them within seconds, alright? You can see most of the skin just kind of falls off in the sink. If you wanted to save the skin for a stock or anything else, you may be able to, but I typically just throw them away. I know a lot of us are conservative people as well, but you can also handle the skin while it's hot. It's a little bit harder to handle, but the skin literally just peels right off, okay? I'm going to grab a spoon to lift this right out of there, alright? I'm going to grab a spoon just to lift this sweet potato right out into my mixer, alright? Alright guys, I have my paddle attachment on my mixer, so I'm going to go ahead and turn my mixer on a low setting, alright? And then I'm going to raise my bowl. And I want to go ahead and release some of that heat, because when I start to put my ingredients in, my eggs, and I don't want the hot sweet potatoes to cook those ingredients, okay? So I'm literally just, I have it on a low setting to go ahead and start mashing the sweet potatoes up. When we do a sweet potato pie, we want to make sure that this mixture is as silky smooth as possible. So I'm going to start with my paddle attachment, and by the end of it I will put on my whisk attachment so that this mixture is nice and aerated and smooth, okay? I'm going to go ahead and put my butter in, and I'm going to literally just work each ingredient in one at a time. Alright, butter in. Now I'm going to add my brown sugar and my white sugar in, because they're both sugars, of course. So by now there's not much more steam rolling from it, so it has cooled down a bit. Now I'm going to go ahead and add my heavy cream in, okay? I'm adding this heavy cream in again to cool my mixture down a bit more. This is heavy cream and vanilla extract. I'm going to turn my mixer up just a little bit more to make sure that I'm knocking out some of those large lumps. Now I'm going to add my flour and spice mixture in, alright? Just a little bit at a time, because I don't want all of those spices to blow back into my face, alright? It happens. It's happened to me before. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and add my eggs in, okay? This is a crucial point, guys. Before you add your eggs in, you want to taste your mixture, okay? Oh, delicious. Alright. I'm going to add my eggs in one at a time. Now remember, your eggs are going to act as a binding agent, okay? It makes your sweet potato pie actually stick together, okay? Makes it nice and thick when it cooks into the oven, alright? Alright, just be a little careful. I'm trying my best not to get any shell in there. My hands are really big, so when I try to crack an egg in my bowl, sometimes it's crazy. It gets real crazy on me, alright? Turn that up just a bit. just to make sure everything is nice and mixed together. As I said before, I'm going to lower my bowl and I'm going to take my paddle attachment off, and I will finish with my whisk attachment. Now I'm going to finish with my whisk attachment. I'm also going to take a spatula and I'm going to go around my edges here to get any excess ingredients that are stubborn and don't want to go down into the bowl. Alright. Alright, I'm going to lift my bowl back up and I'll go about another 30 seconds with my whisk attachment. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and remove my whisk attachment. Now, this is a little wash here. It's not an egg wash. I did not put eggs in this simply because I used my last 2 eggs on our filling here, and so I didn't. Chef Gerron hasn't had a chance to run to the store, but I do have a little milk and butter here, and it will do the same thing. All it's going to do is just encourage browning on the crust, okay? So when the crust goes into the oven, this wash, this milk and butter wash will just add some flavor, of course, but then encourage browning. So I'm going to take a basting brush and just go over my pie crust generously with it, okay? Again, if you're doing this at home, you can put an egg in, and the egg will also, the egg white, or I'm sorry, the egg wash, the yolk and the white mixed in with a little milk will give you a nice, deep, beautiful crust, okay? So if my crust doesn't brown all the way, that may be the reason, okay? But we'll see. We'll see. All right. Again, butter and milk. Alright, I'm going to take a basting brush. If you don't have a basting brush at home, feel free to take a spoon and use the back of the spoon to just go through it. Alright. A lot of people, when they're doing sweet potato pie recipes, they tend to flash bake the crust. And that just means they put beans or weights inside of the pie crust, and then they go ahead and pre-bake it so that it doesn't need to stay in the oven a long time. Me personally, I don't like to do that ahead of time for a sweet potato pie. I just do everything all together, as my great grandmother taught me, okay? And my grandmother taught me, so we won't do that. We'll just add everything in, and then we'll put that bad boy into the oven, okay? On 350 degrees for about 55 minutes, all right? Now we're going to add our pie filling in. All right. Again, we need our handy dandy rubber spatula so that we can clean the excess. All right. Again, as I said before, feel free to look up techniques for crimping. There's multiple different ways to crimp your pie, but as I said before, the fork technique and the finger technique are some of the ones that I've learned and my favorites. In the Hurt household, we don't care what the pie looks like, it's still going to get eaten. Alright, so I got my mixture in. Now I'm going to pop this bad boy into the oven, 350 degrees for 55 to an hour. Alright, see you guys soon. Oh, I don't want to forget, at our 30-minute marker, we will take this bad boy out of the oven and we'll top it with some pecans. Then we'll pop it back into the oven so that our pecans don't burn. At the 30-minute mark, if your crust is starting to brown, to avoid your crust burning, you can take some aluminum foil strips and just put those around the edges of your pie. Alright? See you soon. Alright, our pie is out of the oven at that 30-minute mark. And so my crust is starting to brown really well. What I want to do is take some aluminum foil and just go around the edges so that my crust does not cook anymore, okay? Because I don't want my crust to burn. So again, I'm taking some aluminum foil and going around my edges here because I don't want my crust to burn any more than it's already. Alright? Alrighty, now it's time for us to put our pecans on the pie and to go ahead and put it back into the oven. So I have a bowl of pecans here and I'm just going to put a nice layer. Okay? My pie is almost set. This is like the best of both worlds. It's a mix between like a pecan pie and a sweet potato pie. You guys are going to absolutely love it when you wrap your lips around it. Alright? Those pecans nice and spread it out. Alright, I'm going to finish wrapping my pie, get it back in the oven for an additional 20 minutes, and then this bad boy will be ready to go and we'll be ready to put our toppings on. Can't wait! Alright guys, our pie is finally out the oven. Now it's time to add the finishing touches, okay? Our caramel sauce, and as you can see, I've put our marshmallow cream sauce inside of a squeeze bottle as well. So, the first thing I want to do is start a caramel drizzle. Alright, and I'll start from the middle. And I'll just drizzle it around and make my way out. Okay. Oh wow. It's awesome. Alrighty, so our caramel is done, and now I'll take, and we don't have much marshmallow cream sauce, but I'll take the marshmallow sauce and I'll do the same thing, okay? Alright. Voila, the ultimate sweet potato pie. Pecans, caramel, and marshmallow sauce, okay? Homemade crust. Guys, thank you so much for being a part of my Southern cooking series. I really appreciate it, and I know that you guys and your family will absolutely enjoy this wonderful dessert. Hey WayBetter family, thank you so much for being a part of Southern Cooking with Chef Gerron. I've enjoyed myself, and I hope you guys have enjoyed yourselves too. Please be on the lookout for other games from WayBetter. But then also, in this time of uncertainty, okay, if you guys are interested in learning more kitchen techniques and just cooking, visit my website at familyonaplate.com or chefgerron.com. Also, make sure you follow me on social media, all platforms, at Chef Gerron. See you guys soon.